All right.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Lookout. Second broadcast today on the mountain fire. Said we'd get you guys a update when we had some more information. So we got some intel here to share. If you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Lookout. This is we do wildfire intel, and we're based in Chico, California, and we use open source information that's out there from the different agencies to these educational broadcasts about these fires, how they work, what they're doing, and kind of share the most current information we've got. So mountain fire started today, this morning, and within a couple hours it had burned about 8,000 acres. So we're just going to kind of look at the current situation, and then we'll talk a little bit about how things have changed over the course of the day. So as far as the information we've got, the most recent available mapping is from 6 p.m. tonight, and it shows the fire had kind of gotten right down here to, so we're looking kind of north over Camarillo here, and the fire had moved down here to Highway 101 at 6 p.m. and was kind of right off of Avenida de Aprisa. So this fire has been spreading through spotting. Embers flying. Fire kicks up, throws some embers. They land in dry brush with these high winds, and the fire kind of hopscotches its way through the landscape. So we're just going to kind of go back up from there to the northeast. I don't know this area very well, so I'm just going to stop and read road names once in a while. So here we got Avocado Place, Crestview Ave, and we're looking kind of northeast. Here's via Aracena. And so these green lines are where the fire was earlier today around 2 p.m. So if you see the green line and then you don't see red outside of it, it means the fire hasn't really spread there since about 2. So that's kind of one way we use to just see where the spread is. So there's been, pretty minor amount of spread on the flanks of this fire since 2 p.m. Like all this green line going back through here, that was the mapping from 2 p.m. So just the only places it's kind of slopped out are kind of down into these avocado orchards and here at the end of Calle Alberca and down this little gully here. But we're looking at that earlier today and thinking that it was likely that the flanks where they butt into the neighborhoods here. The problems on these big wind-driven fires is always the head. The flanks where the wind is blowing hard this way, and the fire is spreading kind of slowly off to the sides, even as it races downwind. Right. So the only main spread that this fire has had on this portion since 2 p.m. today, as of this mapping at 6 p.m., was down into this area down here, where it's fairly contained by these fields and these fields out here. So this neighborhood down here, if it hasn't spread since 6 p.m. when this is flowing, then this neighborhood's probably secure. The problem with any of this right now, like all this stuff around here hasn't spread since early 2 o'clock this afternoon. So that's probably going to be pretty solid. The problem is that the winds are supposed to peak tonight. They've died down during the day. They're supposed to peak at about 4 in the morning. So we've really got 2 fires here. We've got the one in Camarillo, and then we've got the other one here that's kind of north of Somis, between Somis and Santa Paula. All right, so this fire started over here, and you can see that it kind of ran down through here, and it actually spotted a couple miles. All right, like it spotted here, and then I'm assuming, this could have been a separate start, and I don't really have any information or anything else except that this fire made a run here. There's a spot out here, and then it's over here as well. I can't tell you the sequence, but if it did spot that far, it's pretty remarkable. And from here to here is a mile, and from here to here is about 1.3 miles. That's not unheard of. You know, we get long range spotting with these high winds. But I can't tell you really with any certainty that like this for sure was a spot and that it wasn't another ignition. All right, so that's the south end of the fire. Same thing here where the fire hasn't spread much since that 2 o'clock mapping. As far on the north side, it's kind of interesting in that it's burning an area that's burnt twice in the last 5 years. And so I was just going to pull up the fire history here. Basically, in the green, you see the fire made the big run. And it was really well, it was all the way down to here by 2 p.m. So once again, where you don't see the green line out to the edge, that's new spread since 2 p.m. till 6 p.m. So the fire ran down here by, I don't know what that is, greenhouses. Burned out into the ag fields here, basically. Yeah, so this new spread this afternoon. Yeah, so what's interesting on this side, and this fire likely, you know, is going to continue backing down in here through the night. And with these strong winds coming down tonight, it's going to be aligned a bit. So some of the stuff that hasn't burned yet, it's likely that quite a bit of this, quite a bit of this will probably burn overnight. But the kind of the interesting and wild card thing here is, if you look at the fire history, I'll turn off. So this area here in blue, this all burned in the Maria fire in 2019. So you've got like 5-year-old grass and brush on this slope. And then the other side here, it burned in Maria, but then it also burned last year in the South Fire. So one of the things that's happened in some of this ground, and I don't know this ground super well, so I can't really say for sure, but it's got a lot of grass and likely a lot of invasive grass from following the previous fires. Over here is Thomas Fire on the other side of the valley. So the fire ran real fast through there just because it's basically running through like 1-year-old grass in this burn here, and on the other side, grass and brush from the Maria fire. So when we have these repeated burns over and over in the same place, it tends to spread weeds, you know, annual grasses. Anyway, that's pretty much the briefing. We don't have much new other than what you're looking at here. Oh, I wanted to show, I guess I'll show some weather stuff. Okay, so my friend Tim Chavez showed me this neat website last night. It's kind of technical, but it basically, you can draw a gradient on the map here from one place to another, and it'll tell you the difference in barometric pressure from one spot to another. And that gradient is what drives these Santa Ana wind events. And so this is 5 different kind of weather models and their predictions of what the gradient pressure will be at different times. So we see right now that Zulu time, we're about 8 hours behind Zulu. So it's saying the observation of what actually happened was 10 here at the last reading, which was 8 p.m. And the model predicts 11. So my buddy Tim says anything over 15 is like a big watch out for big Santa Ana winds. So this forecast model says that by midnight or by noon Zulu time, this is going to be kind of peaking here at 16. Difference is 16 on the pressure. So when I said that the weather's supposed to peak kind of overnight at about 4 a.m. east winds, that's where I'm getting this from, and also getting that from spot weather forecast. So the spot weather forecast is what the firefighters submit to the National Weather Service to ask to get a briefing, basically. And then the weather forecasters will look specifically at where your fire is and give you a detailed brief. Northeast winds are expected to increase later tonight with the usual morning peak and offshore flow. However, winds tomorrow will not be as strong as today, and the wind will decrease faster in the afternoon with likely a west wind developing after 4 p.m. So right now it's really dry out here. These are the relative humidities. Anything under 20 is really kind of critical for fire weather. And we see almost everything out here is in the, there's some stuff in the single digits. So overnight we've got this kind of critical period of fire weather, especially if we have new starts. And here's the surface winds right now. And they're not real strong. They're, in Fillmore, 5. On some of the higher ground, they're like 10. But right now the winds are pretty mild. But we expect that's going to pick up overnight. You can see this kind of offshore flow. Here's the valley, Central Valley. Here's the Channel Islands. And you can see that we've got kind of a strong offshore flow. And then this model shows the heat from the fire burning. And these are kind of just good as a kind of overall, like, is it getting big or is it getting small, or is it dying down? And it's been pretty consistent through the evening. So when we hear that there's going to be a wind, a west wind tomorrow, often one thing that happens with these fires is once you get the onshore wind, they can blow back the other direction. And so it looks like the fire had kind of been backing down here by Bixby Road. So there's potential. That's one thing they'll be working hard on, is that these fires, as they run towards the ocean, often they're really impacting neighborhoods and everything else. And there's a lot of energy going into stopping the forward spread of the fire. But then once the wind shifts from offshore out towards Oxnard, back to onshore again, up towards Bardsdale and Fillmore, there's potential that this fire could kind of it's going to be really dry. So as you have kind of more westerly winds tomorrow, potential for the fire to kind of move back inland. So they've got a lot of resources. There's no other large fires going on right now in Southern California. So they've got a lot of resources right now to work on that, which is great. And like we said before, the good news is that on this side over here where the most of the people are, the flanks aren't spreading that much. And a lot of this has been secured through the day. Sarah Lawrence says that she heard the mountain fire has crossed the Santa Clara River. So here's the Santa Clara River, and it had actually crossed the river as of 6 p.m. and it was, it's kind of contained out here by these industrial areas. This is like import car parking looks like, and ag fields and everything. So the threat of it kind of crossing 126 is really low. Just in that you've got all these ag fields down in the flat ground here and really good access. All right. Anyway, just for the bigger picture, here's Oxnard out here. We're looking kind of inland. Here's Highway 126, Santa Paula, Fillmore, Camarillo. And that's all I've got. If you guys enjoy this kind of our information, check out thelookout.org. This is our main website. We haven't been putting a lot of effort into features on the website right now. Don't have a lot of time for that, so just focusing on live streams. But there's a lot of great archival and educational information on this website. You can find links to our Twitter and our sponsor, QTAC, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, which is sporadic, and you can make one-time donation, or become a supporter, and that really keeps us all going. P-Dub says, where were the homes burned today? All right, so yeah, and if you have some questions, I'm happy to answer them. So the bulk of the homes that burned today burned here kind of, I think it's Camarillo Heights. I don't really know what this neighborhood's called, but up here on Valley Vista Drive, Cerro Crest. There's probably other people out there on Twitter and et cetera that actually have been on the ground and know. But just looking at the mapping, the kind of heart of the fire spread was through these neighborhoods here, Cerro Crest and Golden Spur, Old Coach Drive, Altamont Way, Highland Drive. So, not to sound insensitive, I'm a geographer, right? We study risk and hazard and where things are dangerous. And I had a professor, and she said that if you ever see a place in Southern California that's got the name View in the street name, or Vista or Heights, that tells you kind of right off the bat that the place probably has a wildland fire hazard. And we've definitely found that to be true everywhere we work, right? Crest, the tops of the mountains are dangerous. Valley Vista, anywhere you got a good view, usually means you're up in the brush and kind of steep, rugged country. And so it's usually not surprising when you hear that some place like this had big losses. These are just they are the more dangerous places. They're the ones surrounded with brush, inaccessible, fire prone. Camarillo Hills. Sarah says Las Posas. I was just going to look up where that is. This is Las Posas Country Club. I don't know how big the whole Las Posas area gets, but that country club area, as of 6 p.m., fire hadn't been in there yet. Where's the danger of further homes being burned? Supposed to be strong east winds tonight, and as we said, a lot of this has been pretty secure through today, where the green lines are. There's still, because there's the wildland vegetation out here, there's still, this place isn't completely out of the woods. But what we've seen today is just that everything kind of to the south of the fire held really well through the course of the day. And there's not a lot of homes over here on this side, the north side of the fire, that aren't kind of buffered by these ag fields. So where's Las Posas Road? Yeah, so as I was saying, this mapping is as of about 6 p.m. Here's North Loop Road. It looks like the fire didn't get to Maria Lane here. There's a question if the fire got to Maria Lane at North Loop, and it looks like, as of this mapping, fire had not got there. It was right across the road. All right. Yeah, thanks for the questions, folks. I much most of my work is in Northern California. I don't know SoCal very well, so if I can't answer your questions about specific geography, I'm not a I haven't spent much time down in Southern California. But if you want to come to Butte County, we know every rock. Okay. So, someone's worried about the fire moving south, hoping the fire doesn't move south towards them. The winds are, there's forecast to keep coming out of the east. So, like I said before, these fires tend to move with the wind, and that's why you see these long feather shapes. So we see those shapes. It tells you, a long skinny fire tells you that the wind was strong. If you have a fire burning out in the middle of the brush, and with no wind, it'll be a kind of a round shape. But one thing that's interesting with all these fires, if we look at the history of fires in this landscape, well, let's just go through kind of by the decades. Like, big fire here in the 1950s, Calumet Canyon. Like, you see that they're long. They aim for the ocean. I think it's a kind of interesting exercise just to look at, like, go by decade. Here's the 40s, 50s, 60s, and you just see like what a big part of this landscape fire is, and that a lot of these fires burn a long way to the ocean. And just also that there's not a lot of land out here that hasn't had multiple fires. All right. Yeah, so these different colors, are decades of fire history. These are fires in the 2010s. Not many fires yet in the 20s. These are fires in the 2000s. The Simi fire. Like we said, there's just a lot of long, skinny fires that run incredible distance. Simi fire burned 107,000 acres in a short amount of time. Is there any danger to Ventura itself? Well, there's a strong wind event happening tonight, and I don't think this particular fire is going to threaten Ventura. I don't think it's going to cross all these agricultural fields tonight, but with this weather, with the strong winds, it's kind of critical winds and dry temperature, if there's a fire that starts out in here, this is one of those kind of we just don't have these strong sand. When you hear the red flag warnings and the warnings about the very dangerous fire conditions, that's when you've got these hazards. One thing that Ventura's got going for it is, as far as fire intensity, is that the Thomas fire burned this entire area out to the east. So you've got 7-year-old grass and brush, but it's not like you've got all this decadent, big, crazy brush that hasn't burned for 50 years or something. So sometimes we see a temporary kind of reduction in fire behavior, just because there's been a recent fire that burned a lot of the brush. Someone's asking about Las Posas Road. It's tough because I'm not on the ground. I got I'm just looking at like shapes on my map, right, and telling you where the fire was. I don't have any eyes on the ground. I haven't been talking to anyone who's out there on the ground, so I can't really tell you like where it's hot, where it's gonna go. I can just tell you kind of what I'll usually show you. Here's the map, and here's what it did. But there's probably better folks to be watching on Twitter, as far as there's folks out there taking pictures and stuff. So I don't really have any really good intel for you. If I see something new, I'd put it up there. Someone says Tehama's breaking a fire. Let's check real quick before I jump off if there's any new fire outlines. I don't see anything new. So it's in the bed of the river, Santa Paula by 12th Street. Where's 12th Street? All right. Okay. Yeah, so someone said it's down in here in the bed of the river by 12th Street. So we could see that. I can just show you where it was at 6 p.m. Yeah, so since then it's moved down into here. So yeah, like we said, that's the watch out tomorrow is when you get the onshores die out and it goes back to an onshore flow. Whatever they haven't secured in here is going to want to go up canyon, head up here along kind of South Mountain Road. Fire's going to be backing down towards there overnight, but the big push of the winds at 4 in the morning is down, pushing the fire down canyon. But you can still get fire spreading against the wind, being fanned by that high wind. How long do I think it'll take for them to put this fire out? The stuff that's accessible, a lot of it will be kind of done in the morning. Stuff that, like has held through today. So like over here on the edge of town, like all this stuff that looks like it hasn't moved since 2 probably will stay secure. And places that were unsecured or new growth, they got a lot of resources right now on this fire. And so a lot of this is going to be secured along this edge. Areas that are got more brush, maybe there's some places where it's going to take them longer, but where it's like right up against neighborhoods and hasn't shown no heat through the day, those are going to be secure. What it does out in here overnight with the strong winds is, the problem with night is harder to use aircraft to watch what's happening if it's really windy. Harder, they can't use tankers. And so I don't really have any idea what's going to happen out here overnight. But I would say that this kind of Camarillo side of things is going to be better off overnight than this area out here where there's still kind of fire out to the east. Like I said, though, also, I don't have a lot of great kind of real-time information on where the heat is. I'm just showing you these maps from 6 p.m. and talking about them. Say a question about Santa Paula. If you should, we've already kind of talked about what's happening there, and yes, sir. I'm gonna leave this map up for a second and look for some information. Someone says there's a fire in Tehama County. I'm just kind of curious. Valley Fire? No, that's not it. So I'm checking out like the watch duty, which is pretty good. These guys are listening to the scanners and water dropping helicopters working along South Mountain Road. Schools are closed. All right. question is if it's crossed 126. I don't have any information that it has crossed 126. Yeah, someone's like classic burn, wind driven long slopes, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty much what's happening. You got this big offshore flow. Oh, what's going on here? My mouse is getting away from me. Stop. There we go. Crazy. Yeah, here we're looking offshore, and the winds get funneled through these valleys, and then the fires tend to spread with the topography and the wind. All right. Yeah, I don't see much about it jumping 126. Someone's asking about homes being lost in Camarillo Heights. I don't know, like we were saying earlier, like it looks like in general there hasn't been a lot of new spread outside of where it was mapped. This blue line is where the fire was at 2 p.m. and then the red here is where the fire is now. And let's see. So where you see yellow here, outside of the green, it's a little hard to see. I'm going to turn that off. Doesn't look like we said before, it doesn't look like there's a lot of spread since 2 p.m. in Camarillo Heights. Okay, folks, bailing out. Good luck overnight. If there's major developments, we'll do another stream in the morning, but probably not. Just we'll keep you posted, but lots going on. Lots going on every day, and this is kind of my side gig. I'll do what I can to keep you informed, but got a bunch of stuff happening tomorrow morning, so we'll jump on if something remarkable happens. Otherwise, check out Watch Duty. Check out the CAL FIRE page, and